Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to all the lovely audience who have tuned in to watch us live. I'm Sharmishta Parmar, the admin of Parent Station Ahmedabad, and I once again welcome you to the Wednesday book review. And we have with us Strawberry Chakravarti, who is again going to give you a very wonderful book review. So, Strawberry, today which book have you chosen for us?
Right. Today I chose a very interesting book which is unique in its own kind. The name of the book suggests, if you can see, I have the book with me today, All the Bright Places. This is a
Wow.
young adult novel written by Jennifer Niven.
Lovely. The name itself sounds so good, and we welcome you again on our parent station platform. And
We can carry ahead with this now.
yes,
Now, before we start talking about the book in details, I would like to read this quotation. The very first page narrates. With this very first quotation that is here, it will make you feel and understand what we are going to look into or what to expect from this book. It says the world breaks everyone and afterward. Many are strong at the broken places, and it is written by Ernest Hemingway. Yes, and I hope with that you can feel the brightness the all the bright places is going to talk about. As I said, it is a young adult fiction novel by Jennifer Niven, which is somewhere based on author's personal story, on Jennifer Niven's personal story. This novel was first published on January 6th, 2015 through Knopf Publishing Group, and is this was Niven's first young adult book. It is adapted in a film as well, and it is published on a very favorite application that nowadays we are quite crazy with, I guess. Talk about the younger ones till the older ones, Netflix. So yeah, it is available in a movie form as well. This book talks about two characters, two teenagers. So you can understand that this book is meant for the teenagers. And now, let me tell you the theme as well. The theme of this book is, I don't know if I should call it mental health or if I should call it, yeah, maybe it should go with mental health. It talks about um, topics which we do not like to talk about openly in our society still. We are definitely in 21st century, but we somewhere avoid when someone says that, okay, that person is depressed, so it's like, okay, we are not supposed to discuss about that. Well, yeah, things have developed and revolved a lot, yet there are people who are not very open about it, not very comfortable about it. And majorly, we are always scared of judgment. We're always scared that what that person will think, what they will comment. But we in that process we somewhere forget to take care of the most important parts, or we forget dealing with the actual problem, right? So in this book we have two teenagers as characters. Theodore Finch, who is very crazy. He was denoted with his friend as Crazy Strick, and Violet Markey, who badly want to escape from their small town of um, Bartlett. Violet is a popular girl in her school, who is secretly dealing with survivor's remorse. So, survivor's remorse. Violet recently loses her sister, and he's very much depressed with that. She regrets the loss a lot. And Finch, he's a boy and is obsessed with death, and he's labeled as freak by his peers, as I told you earlier. Now, fate brings these two people together. They once climbs to the bell tower. of their school, and that is when they meet each other, and then they come to know about each other. And what they find there, Finch find Violet standing at the edge. It felt like that she is going to jump down. Okay. Okay. Now, Violet's sister, Eleanor, who died 9 months previously from the scene, she was in a car crash, and she was in a car crash on the route that Violet suggested her. And that is why she feels that regret. Somewhere she feels that guilt that because of her sister died. Violet feels responsible, definitely, and she's a student. She's in student council, which she quits. She was in cheerleading, but she quits everything. She is not able to deal with her sister's death. Now, let us talk about the author a little bit. Our writer Jennifer Niven, she grew up in Indiana, and as well as writing novels, Niven has also worked as a screenwriter, journalist, and an associate producer at ABC Television. Her first two books were nonfiction narratives called The Ice Master, published in 2000, and Ada Blackjack, a true story of survival in the Arctic, that was published in 2003. In 2010, she published a memoir of her years in high school called The Aquanet Diaries. She began writing a series of historical novels in 2009. The first, Velva Jean Learns to Drive, was based on a short film of the same name that she had made. It won an Emmy Award and the Colin Higgins Award for screenwriting. Um, Now, let's get back to the book. This book, as I've just narrated to you, explores the mental health issues in the young adults specifically. And This story of these teens, where Theodore and Violet find solace in each other. They're not only attracted, they do not come across each other because they're attracted. Rather, they felt that they are non-judgmental to each other. And when they felt that they are non-judgmental to each other, it helped them become friends. It helped them to talk to each other. But we will see that majority of the talking is done by Violet was feeling better to find someone who is not going to make her feel guilty, or who is going to give her that space where she can talk about the guilt she was feeling inside. And when she was getting that space with Finch, she started feeling better, and she started feeling more lively. Now, um okay, so Finch on the other side was dealing with abusive parenting, abusive father to be specific. But somehow Theodore was not very comfortable talking about things. However, when he was with Violet, and when he heard Violet talking about all her feelings and opening up, that made Finch feel better about himself, and it would make him feel better and come out of that trauma that he was facing at home. Yeah. And yeah, so Finch is the first person who comes up to Violet, because somewhere Finch feels, looking at Violet, especially standing on that ledge, that she might need help. So Finch, without thinking twice, comes across to Violet and um, gives starts talking. Basically, not gives a nice talk, but rather starts talking. And as I said, Violet's presence was making Finch comfortable, and Finch's presence made Violet talk about her guilt and survivor remorse easily. Now, through Violet, this book, All the Bright Places, it portrays of how difficult it is to reinvent ourselves after a tragedy. Yeah. especially losing someone who is very dear and near to us. The point that All the Bright Places highlights from Violet and Finch's relationship is not about bonding in a different way, but rather it shows the importance of someone who will be there, who will allow you to speak, open up without judgment. And by this time, not by this time, but we all know, I guess, that when we bottle up feelings, it's the worst, especially the feeling of loss, grief, trauma. So we somewhere ourselves become the barrier to our healing if we start bottling up these things for a very longer time. Opening up to people, talking about the difficulties that we are facing or the difficult situation that we are in. And if you get a listener who is not giving you that negative feeling or adding into your negative feeling, it helps us to move at least one step closer to the healing process. So with Finch, however, the mental illness is indeterminate because as I have just narrated, that Finch is not basically trying to talk a lot. However, is happy with the brightness or the positiveness that he is receiving from Violet. And we keep seeing Finch, trying to control his rage, his dark thoughts. And so basically, this book, All the Bright Places, understands that each person has his or her own way of handling mental illness, and they should get some space for themselves. It is important for a person to come back. Um, for Finch, he assumes that by helping Violet, he can get away from whatever it is that he was fighting inside. He approaches Violet because he's definitely attracted, but however, he sees that in Violet that she is someone who is struggling just like him. And somewhere you can also relate that because he was already struggling, he knew how it affects. And that is how they bonded together, that they started helping each other. Now, most of the time, people who live with overwhelming struggles like Finch are usually the ones who have the bigger capacity for empathy, because they might not only think of helping people, um, and they can just they can it can also help them to distract from their own struggles. They basically know how it is to be on the other side, right? Because they are themselves facing it, so they know how important it is to overcome it and how it feels to be there. Now, as shown by Violet, talking about feelings can be very helpful, right? And but for some people, the strain that comes with mental illness can be bigger than the help from other people. So, All the Bright Places, this book excellently demonstrated. And this book does well in portraying common issues that teens struggle with most of the times. Now, The Guardian, let me quote this from The Guardian. They says that it is one of those books that you still remember months after reading it, because the characters and the storyline they followed touch your heart in a way that you can't forget them. It is a book that you can link back to your own life, and it reminds you how fragile everything is and how important it is to treasure every moment with a loved one before it can be snatched away. You will never look at anything in the same way after reading this book. It changes your views about everything. And let me also get show you this. This book, excuse me, this book has narration. It's like narrating. The person is narrating. So each page, when you go, though it's not a diary writing format, However, when you go through each page is narrated by the character himself and herself. So you start feeling a personal bond with the narrator, and you start feeling empathetic towards the character, and you start understanding the problem. So I guess with a read to this, we will be able to help our teenagers. We can bring all the positives out of it, because as you see, this book does not glorify any sort of mental illness. Rather, it talks about how we can deal with it. So here they're dealing themselves. Okay, but I think after we give it a good read, we can start feeling ourselves in their shoes, and we can start dealing with our teenagers around us, and give them that help they might require. And I guess with the world changing, and after all these things, especially with the pandemic, where we never knew that we will be seeing tomorrow's sunlight or not, it's a high time that we focus on less judging and more helping and being empathetic, and take care of ourselves and our neighborhood, I would say, people around us. And that is how we can overcome, I guess, almost all problems. Let's talk about mental illness, right? Thank you so much. That was all I wanted to talk about the book. Do give it a read.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a wonderful book you have suggested, Shobari, for us, who is going to, it's going to talk about mental illness,
Yeah,
which we should discuss. We should always be at a help to somebody who wants to share their feeling. And it's going to be an awesome if people
yeah.
need to go out and just read out this book. And it was
I
so
just hope that after reading, their perspective definitely changes. I'm really hoping that.
I could just imagine Flint and Violet talking to each other and a character
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to read out because it
yeah.
was lovely, the reviews which you gave. Thank you so much, Shabari, once again coming on the Parent Station platform and giving us this wonderful book review of this book, which is specifically for teens. And go grab the book and just read. Thank you so much. And thank you, Harsha ma'am, for giving us this opportunity. So we invite all the people over here for expert talks and book reviews, and we have a wonderful time. Thanks a lot. Bye,
Thank
Shabari.
you so
Thank you
much
so
for having
much.
me. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.